What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Doctor Who Series 12 review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Series 12 Episode 3, Orphan 55. This is the first single kind of episode of the series, because Episode 1 and 2 was a two-parter. This is the first single story of Series 12. I was interested to see what this one would be like, because it was written by Ed Heim, who wrote It Takes You Away from Series 11, which was one of my favourite episodes of the last series, only real issue being the frog. Apart from that, it was like my second or third favourite episode of the series, so I was interested, however I wasn't kind of getting too excited about this, because I know what this can be like. You know, great writers from one episode are not always great for another episode, but I was slightly hopeful, slightly optimistic about this one. But anyway, let's get started with the cast. Jodie Whittaker as the 13th Doctor. Okay, we'll start good here. I actually did quite like Jodie Whittaker this episode. I actually think this has probably been one of her better episodes. She's not as funny and silly in this episode, and honestly, for Jodie Whittaker, I think that works. I honestly think she does better with the more serious stuff. Sadly, we're not getting a whole lot of that. I'm hoping we're going to get more of that now, you know, with the whole... By the way, spoilers, before we even properly get started here, there are spoilers for this from, you know, this and before, so spoiler warning right now. I'm hoping that we do get more of this sort of Jodie Whittaker, a bit more of a serious Doctor after the whole Gallifrey thing of the last episode. So I did like that, and ultimately I like her performance a lot more. Like I've said before, I don't know if it's her performance or if it's the writing that I don't like when she's doing her silly stuff. I think it's a bit of both. I think though she does the serious stuff a lot better, and generally it seems to be written a lot better, the serious stuff. So I just wish they'd stick with that more, and I hope they do stick with that more for the rest of this series. But yeah, altogether, Jodie Whittaker I actually really did quite enjoy in this episode. The companions, well, sadly I've kind of got to bunch them all. Actually, no, I don't have to bunch them all together. I am going to bunch Bradley Walsh as Graham O'Brien and Mandip Gill as Yasmin Khan together here, because both those characters don't really get a whole lot to do in this story, which is disappointing, especially for Yaz, because, you know, she had quite a lot to do in part 1 of Spyfall, which I really liked. She got less to do in the last episode, part 2 of Spyfall, and then once again here she doesn't really have anything to do. She's probably down to in this episode, the boring left behind companion again, which I'm really disappointed about, because I was hoping, especially after part 1 of Spyfall, that we were going to get more Yaz, and maybe we will get more Yaz throughout the series, but at the moment she's kind of just gone back down to, oh yeah, she's the least important, and I don't like that. I really want to see more of her. Bradley Walsh as Graham, I mean, he's good, just his presence, I think, is just interesting. Even if he's not doing a whole lot, I kind of notice him more, and he's just a bit more interesting than Yaz. I don't know what it is, but yeah, Graham is good just all the time, but once again, he doesn't really get a whole lot to do here either. Tosin Cole as Ryan Sinclair. I'd say that out of the three companions, Ryan is the main companion of this story for sure. He gets a lot to do with one of the other guest cast members called Bella. A lot to do with her. But yeah, and I actually did generally quite like him in this one. This is probably one of my favourite performances by Ryan, by Tosin. I think, you know, generally I haven't been the biggest fan. I think a lot of it is his acting, to be honest. I haven't been a big fan of Tosin Cole's acting, the way he's portraying Ryan. But in this episode, I liked him a bit more. He wasn't quite as, I don't know, he had his silly moments, you know, like when he was doing the sucking thumb thing and all that, and trying to like chat up Bella and stuff. But it felt more natural. I liked that a lot more. So yeah, I actually, out of all three companions, for this one, I actually think I liked Ryan the most. Alright, so now we get on to the good and the bad. We're going to start off with the good. I've actually done a good and the bad list this time. I'm going to try and do this from now on, because it just makes it easier to go through stuff instead of just coming off the top of my head or just having a list of random stuff in any random order. I do actually have a good and bad list. So we'll start off with the good. I've said this just before, talking about Jodie Whittaker. The Doctor feels more serious and less silly in this story. I really hope this sticks. I'm kind of guessing this is because of the whole Gallifrey thing. I mean, we get a little bit at the beginning of this episode, you know, where I think it's Yaz actually says something like, oh, you seem like really grumpy or something, you don't seem like yourself recently, and, you know, she kind of snaps, Jodie Whittaker the Doctor snaps back a bit, and I like that. I really like that version of this Doctor, and I want to see more of it, so I hope we do get more of it. The Dregs, who are the villains of the story, the monsters of this story, they look good. when they're shot well. Now we'll get onto this later on, but yeah, the dregs, they're really cool looking things. I remember the shot in the trailer where, you know, there's one banging up against the glass. That was really the only shot we saw of it in the trailer. I think we did also see the shot of like it in the in like the cage when it burst out of the cage. But that was the main shot, and it looked really creepy in the trailer, and it looked really creepy there when shot that way. When it's relatively dark, not too close up, and it's like bashing on stuff. Really, really cool. I like the design of these dregs. I just really do like them. But yeah, we will get onto them a little bit more in a bit. Orphan 55 being Earth in the future after global warming has got too serious is a good twist, and I didn't see it coming. I did really like that twist, and I didn't mind the whole global warming thing. It's another one of these, you know, slightly political things and all, you know, Doctor Who's being too PC, and sometimes I do think that's the case. When this was first introduced, I don't think that was, I was perfectly fine with it. I was actually like, you know what? They kind of slightly mentioned, oh yeah, people need to take care of the planet more. They just kind of mentioned it a little bit once the Doctor found out what this was. And I liked that. I think it was subtle enough, and it worked, and it was an interesting twist in the story that I didn't really see coming. We'll get to where that ended up leading later, but yeah, altogether, I didn't mind that whole plot thread. The dregs breathing carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen, I thought that was cool, because the dregs, turns out they are actually humans that have basically, what's the word, oh god, what's the word, they've mutated, that's the word, they've mutated because of what has happened to the world with global warming and stuff, and instead of breathing in oxygen and out carbon dioxide, they breathe in carbon dioxide and out oxygen, and I thought that was a really cool concept. I really like that idea. I think it's interesting, it's a little bit different, and yeah, just altogether I did quite enjoy that, just that concept and that idea. I liked that a lot. Then finally, the cage scene was clever and well done. The moment where the Doctor and, I can't remember who it was it Graham? I can't actually remember who was with the Doctor in that cage scene. I have no idea. I think it was Graham, but it might have been a woman for all I know. I honestly can't remember. But that whole scene, I think it was shot really well. In that scene, the dreg looked good because it was a darker room, and it just looked better. And yeah, generally, just a really interesting scene. You know, how the Doctor's talking to it and saying, you know, you can live off us with the way you breathe, and we can live off you with the way we breathe, and it's just, it would work. We could make a we could make a society with this. Obviously, it turns out she wasn't really trying to get that. She was just trying to trap it so that she could trap it and get away. But I liked that whole scene. I thought it was interesting, and it was very well shot. So we do now have to go on to the bad, and this is where we're going to be going on for a bit. Alright, let's start this off with Vilma was such an annoying character. For the moment I saw her, I thought, this character is annoying. I had actually already seen on Twitter people complaining about how annoying this old woman character was, and I was thinking, this should be interesting, but literally, the minute I saw her on screen and heard her was just, and once Benny disappeared, she became so annoying. The way she was screaming out Benny, she seemed so one-dimensional, and just, oh god, she just annoyed the hell out of me. She was just annoying. I don't think the actress was good. I don't think the way she was written was good. Just a poor character, just really in there. I swear she's just in there to be annoying. Halfway through she dies, and honestly I was like, thank god you've gone and sacrificed yourself, because I'm sick of hearing your voice. Ryan and Bella's romance felt forced to me. I've heard multiple different opinions on this. Some people say, like me, that they don't feel like the whole romance thing really worked. Other people say they actually quite liked the romance. I just didn't really care for it. It just, if it was built up more, I wouldn't have minded, but yeah, it just, I understand the similarities they have, you know. Ryan has difficulties with his father and his mother's dead. Bella has difficulties with her mother and her father's dead. I see the similarities there. Yeah, it makes sense and stuff, but everything just goes too quickly, and for me, it just feels forced. Bella being Kane's daughter came out of absolutely nowhere. I mean, if she's actually her daughter, how does Kane not even slightly realise that? It just, what? How? That just doesn't make any sense to me. She doesn't even think about it. Like, ugh, it just came out of nowhere. It just felt just completely random. Nevi and Silas, the two greenhead characters, one of them being from The Inbetweeners, James Buckley. big cast member to have in. Everybody was excited about him coming in. They basically had nothing to do. Apart from Silas at the end, showing that, oh, kids actually know more than they think, and he kind of helped save the day and save the teleporter and fix it and let everyone go free. Yeah, apart from that, what was the point of them? What was the point of them? To be honest, that's the case for a lot of the characters here, but those two especially, I think. Here's one that I haven't really heard people talking about, actually, in the couple of reviews that I have watched. Long scene of just talking in the truck. There's this whole scene when they go out to save Benny, or to find Benny, or whatever, where they're in the truck, and there's just talking, mostly between Ryan and Bella, but kind of all the characters have a little bit of talking, and it's just a really quiet moment where it's literally talking for what feels like 5 or 10 minutes. And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me so much of the Ghost Monument, the scene when they're on the boat. It just dragged on for way too long, and it just didn't really go anywhere. And I don't feel like this one was quite as bad as that, but it didn't really go anywhere. I thought the moment where the Doctor kind of came in between Ryan and Bella was kind of funny, but at the same time the whole romance thing didn't really do anything for me, so at the same time it didn't really work. But yeah, the rest of it was literally just, oh, we've got some time to kill, let's just have them talk to each other in a truck for 10 minutes. And yeah, it really ruined the pacing of the story. The dregs looked crap when shot in daylight, especially in close-ups. Like I said before, the dregs when they're shot in nighttime, in dark places, they look really scary and really good. But when they're shot in the daylight, either they're just walking around, wandering around, not doing a whole lot and just shouting, or they're really close up in the daylight and they just look like costumes, which they are. I mean, they're CGI at some points, but those close-ups, I'm pretty sure they're costumes. They don't look good. They just looked really fake, and I was almost laughing at them, and that's not a good thing to do with a monster in Doctor Who. They go out to save Benny, who's most likely already as good as dead, leaving everyone to fight for themselves at the spa. I mean, we don't really see many people at Tranquility Spa, to be honest, but surely it's a holiday destination. It's where people go to relax and stuff for a holiday. Surely there's more people there. Surely there's a whole bunch of people there. And these monsters, the dregs, they're breaking through and they're getting into the spa. So all these people just decide, oh, let's leave to go save this one guy who's gone into this area where we can't physically breathe, and let's try and save him. I mean, you can't breathe out there. Surely you just think, you know what, he's out there, he's been taken, he's probably already dead. So, or he's at least beyond saving, which turns out he is. So it's like, it just doesn't make sense as a decision that the Doctor would make, in my opinion. The Doctor can't return and save Kane and Bella at the end. Why not? She gets transported back to the TARDIS. Kane and Bella are left fighting. If we got an explanation as for why they can't return, then fair enough, but we didn't get that explanation. She just doesn't return, so I thought that was a bit stupid. And then finally, and this is the bit you've probably all been waiting for, the Doctor's awful speech to camera, basically to camera, about taking care of the planet. Now, I said before that I didn't mind the whole thing of, oh, this is the Earth after global warming's taken effect too much, after we've not looked after the planet enough, and this is how it goes. And I liked that as a concept. I thought it was good. It wasn't drilled into your head. But at the end, they just absolutely hammered it into you. If they even just slightly mentioned it at the end, I wouldn't have minded. But the fact that the Doctor basically turns to camera and says, we're not looking after the planet enough, we've got to do a better job, or else we're going to become dregs. We're going to become these awful monsters. She's talking to the companions, but I mean, if she is talking to the companions, why is she giving this information to the companions? She's basically saying, it's so direct. That's the problem. It's such a direct thing. It lets the story down so much. It really does. And I'm not one of these people that really goes on too much about political correctness and stuff in Doctor Who. I think it is seen more nowadays than it was before, but I don't think it's over the top most of the time. But this is definitely the worst instance of it ever. It's way too over the top. It's way too forced into your head. They're trying to drill it into your brain. And yeah, that really put me off. I actually kind of sighed when that speech was happening. I was just like, are you kidding me? So that is my review for Orphan 55. What am I going to rate it? Honestly, I really struggle to rate this story because it has some really good elements, and it also has a hell of a lot of bad stuff. So because of all the bad stuff outweighing the good stuff, At the moment, I've given it a 3.5 out of 10. I personally don't think on a watching level this is as bad as the Saranga Conundrum, which I give a 3 out of 10, but it has a lot more worse stuff in it, so yeah, a 3.5, that's what I'm giving it. It may change, I don't know, it's just, yeah, at the moment that's what I'm giving it. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.